William Regal, in my opinion, is one of the unsung heroes of wrestling. While many new fans are only now getting a taste of what traditional British wrestling is all about, thanks to NXT UK, William Regal has been regarded by his peers and fans alike as one of the greatest catch-as-catch-can wrestlers of all time. In a wrestling landscape that was all about being a colourful and flashy sports entertainer, William Regal was a legitimate grappler who forced his opponents to keep up with him in the ring. Regal was a shooter with the rare ability to combine a realistic, competitive wrestling style with entertainment. When we talk about the great technicians of wrestling and their ability to tell a story in a ring, it's a real shame that sometimes William Regal's name is left out. In this first of a two-part series, we will look at the career of William Regal. Part 1 here will cover his early years and his time in WCW, and Part 2 will look at his time in the WWE. Real name Darren Matthews, Regal was born on the 10th of May 1968 in Codsill, Staffordshire. His father was a builder by trade who hoped his son would take over the family business. Regal, however, knew from an early age that he wanted to become a professional wrestler or a comedian. He was enamoured by the variety shows and pro wrestling he used to watch with his grandfather on TV. Regal's grandfather also told him stories of boxing, wrestling and fighting from his travels around England in the 20s, something that greatly fascinated the young Darren Matthews. Regal credits British grapplers Marty Jones, Sid Cooper and Finlay for helping him develop his craft, either with direct training or just their influence. He admits to having no athletic ability when he began working at the world's last wrestling booth at Blackpool Pleasure Beach, where he would defend prize money and shoot wrestling matches against members of the public. With this being said, Regal took advice from many older grapplers to eventually mould himself into the shoot wrestler he would become. Regal became very proficient as a grappler while working at the booth at Blackpool, as the unpredictability of his unknown opponents would force him to always be on his guard. Regal was working these shoot matches at just 15 years old. Regal began working in holiday camps around the UK, and at the age of 18, he got his break when he was able to work a match on World of Sport, which would be broadcasted to TV screens across Britain. Regal soon realised that he was only getting booked in tag matches, where his main job was to make his tag partner, Big Daddy, look a lot better than what he was. While he was appreciative of the spot that he had on TV, Regal wanted to improve his abilities by working against people that were better than him. He walked away from guaranteed TV time to work for All Star Wrestling in the UK, where the promoter promised him he will only wrestle guys who were better than what he was. By the age of 20, Regal was getting booked in wrestling tournaments held in Germany. Those who have read Chris Jericho's first book will know of these tournaments and how they featured many different styles from many different wrestlers around the world. Regal got more work in Vienna, sometimes staying abroad for up to 6 months and making much more money than what he would have had he stayed in England. Regal also worked in France, Spain, South Africa and Egypt, all of which helped him immensely become the grappler that we saw in WCW and the WWE. The WWF called Regal in 1991 and he got booked in a dark match at the WWF UK Rampage show on April 24th. He appeared as Steve Regal, a name he borrowed from another wrestler named Mr. Electricity, Steve Regal. He was also booked again by the WWF at Battle Royal at the Albert Hall on October 21st, again working the dark match. That same year, WCW had a UK tour and Steve Regal found himself booked in 6 matches during this loop, thanks to a WCW regular getting injured. Eventually, Regal wrote a handwritten resume to Bill Watts, outlining his experience in hope of getting work with WCW in the United States. Bill Watts was a fan of rugged, no-nonsense grapplers, and Regal totally fit the bill at this time. Watts and Regal spoke on the phone, with Bill Watts wanting Regal to start right away in WCW. When Regal told Bill that he can't start right away as he had other commitments with other promoters that he needed to finish, Watts told Regal that he admired his loyalty and his work ethic, and Regal was given a job in WCW as soon as his other work commitments had finished. Regal made his debut on the January 30th, 1993 episode of WCW Saturday Night. He was told by creative not to be a good guy or a bad guy, he just had to go out and be a tough British wrestler. Regal has said that the enhancement guys he first worked with knew of Regal's reputation of being a shooter, and some were hesitant to give their bodies to Regal in fear of him breaking arms or legs. Regal was getting good reviews from the live shows that he worked early in his WCW career, but on TV, things weren't nearly as good, mainly because the time restraints put on televised matches did nothing to complement the technically sound and intricate style which William Regal was all about. Bill Watts was let go from WCW, and Regal felt he was now on borrowed time in World Championship Wrestling. After getting the okay from Booker Dusty Rhodes, William Regal developed a new character, Lord Steven Regal, a bad guy who claimed he had royalty in his blood. He had Sir William as his new manager, maybe better known to wrestling fans as Bill Dundee. With this new villainous gimmick and this new attitude, Regal was now off to the races. It wouldn't take long for Steven Regal to pick up his first WCW championship when he defeated Ricky Steamboat at the first ever Fall Brawl in 1993 for the television title. Regal kept the title for a very long time, with his first televised defence being a 15-minute draw against Arn Anderson, which did do a lot more to display his wrestling style than anything else he had done in WCW previously. Regal defended the title against fellow Brit Davey Boy Smith at Halloween Havoc 1993, again ending in a 15-minute draw. From here, he would defend his title against the likes of Dustin Rhodes, Johnny B. Bad and Brian Pillman. It wouldn't be until May the following year when he dropped the title to Larry Zbyszko, but Regal quickly regained the title at Clash of the Champions 27 the same month. At the next Clash of the Champions, William Regal was booked in a match against Japanese legend Antonio Inoki. Inoki's career was winding down and he was on a farewell tour, a tour that stopped in WCW thanks to the partnership World Championship Wrestling had with the company founded by Inoki, New Japan Pro Wrestling. Regal vs Inoki needs to be watched to be fully appreciated. It's a stiff encounter full of the strong style wrestling that gets so much recognition these days, but was really underappreciated by WCW audiences in 1994. It's even unappreciated by the commentators at the time, with Tony Schiavone and company being more interested in talking about the Hogan vs Flair main event that was happening that same evening. The match even shows a split screen at one point, showing Hogan arriving in the locker room. Regal claims that he was legitimately choked out at the end of the match, fully unconscious. Regal said, "I knew he wanted me to tap. I knew it would just be better if I didn't. I'd been put out before, and we know nowadays that's not a smart thing to do, but I didn't at the time, and I knew it would be over really quick, and it was. He put it on and I didn't tap, and I was out before I knew it." Regal went on to Fall Brawl in 1994 where he dropped the TV title to Johnny B. Bad, ending his nearly 1 year run with the belt, with the slight hiccup of Larry Zbyszko capturing the title. Regal done a lot for the TV title which, to be honest, struggled to gain prestige for a long time in WCW, both before and after Regal held the belt. Lord Steven Regal had been keeping a close eye on fellow aristocrat Jean-Paul Levesque, eventually leading to the pair forming a tag team, which was cut fairly short due to Levesque leaving WCW to become Hunter Hearst Helmsley in the WWF. Triple H was replaced by Bobby Eaton, and the Blue Bloods tag team was formed, with Bobby getting his name changed to Earl Robert Eaton. Fans of the time will remember the funny vignettes featuring Lord Steven Regal trying to make Bobby Eaton a finer gentleman. The Blue Bloods mainly feuded with the polar opposite tag team of the Nasty Boys and Harlem Heat. While in the Blue Bloods, Regal still found time to have a singles rivalry with Fit Finlay, known as the Belfast Bruiser here in WCW at this time. This led to a memorable parking lot brawl on the April 29th, 1996 episode of Nitro. Go back and watch all the Regal vs Finlay matches that you can find online, some of which are available on YouTube. You won't be disappointed. Regal won the TV title once again on the August 31st, 1996 episode of Nitro, and this kind of made the Blue Bloods tag team become inactive. He held the title for 4 months, dropping the gold to Prince Iaukea after getting distracted by Rey Mysterio Jr. Regal got a rematch at Spring Stampede, but he wasn't successful at recapturing the gold. He did, however, defeat Ultimo Dragon at Slamboree 1997 to win the title for the 4th time, but dropped the gold again 2 months later to Dragon. Regal then went on to briefly reform the Blue Bloods tag team with Dave Taylor this time, and the team unsuccessfully challenged the Steiner brothers at World War III in 1997 for the tag titles. This brings us then to the Goldberg match on the February 9th, 1998 episode of Nitro. I've spoke about this match before in the WCW Goldberg video, but very briefly, Regal was accused of shooting on Goldberg. Regal worked some shoot style moves here which the inexperienced Goldberg was not prepared for, as at this time, Goldberg had only been working quick squash matches. Regal has said in his autobiography and in subsequent interviews that he was told to have a competitive 6-minute match with Goldberg and not the normal squash matches that Goldberg was accustomed to. After the match, backstage, Eric Bischoff and Goldberg were angry over what happened, and the general narrative has always been that Regal got fired from WCW due to this very match. However, this is not true. Regal said himself on the Steve Austin podcast that he was fired months after this, mainly due to his addiction issues at the time. Regal was having a hard time dealing with addictions to benzos and pain pills, something that would continue to haunt him when he made his way to the WWF in 1998. The next video uploaded on this channel will cover Regal's 1998 WWF debut, his return to WCW in 1999, and his WWF comeback in 2000.